and welcome back to the Nerd Den here once again, and today we are going to be talking about the 60th anniversary of Doctor Who that is only 3 years away. I nearly said 3 days, but no, unfortunately it is a lot more further than that. But yeah, 2023 is going to be the 60th anniversary for Doctor Who, and with every 10-year milestone, we normally get a special episode, and that was proven last year for the 50th anniversary, where we got I think it was like a 90-minute long episode, Day of the Doctor. We got a bunch of other stuff as well, but Day of the Doctor was the main event, and we had a multi-Doctor event that was pretty much, we saw the 11th Doctor meet the 10th Doctor, we had John Hurt's War Doctor introduced, we had Tom Baker come back as the Curator incarnation, and we had a bunch of archive footage of other Doctors as well. So that's kind of set a really high mark for Chibnall, or whoever is the showrunner in 2023, to kind of meet or at least beat. And in my opinion, I would like to see the 60th anniversary try and beat that, because obviously in Day of the Doctor there was a lot that went on. We had all these Doctors meet, we had a Zygon invasion, and then we had the conclusion to the Time War that wasn't the conclusion that we originally thought was the case. Gallifrey was saved. I mean, it was later destroyed this year with Series 12, but at the time it was huge. We saw, again at the time, all 13 Doctors save Gallifrey. That was amazing. But now, as we approach the 60th anniversary, I want to talk about what Doctors I would like to see return and their likelihood. So let's get into this. So the first Doctor, yeah, we're just going to start off with that. The likelihood of him returning, because obviously William Hartnell is sadly no longer with us. David Bradley has recently done a really good job with recreating that incarnation, and I would love to see that happen. And this goes to the second and third Doctors as well, just because they did a really good job with their respective incarnations. They haven't really had any replicas or a modernised take with another actor taking on that incarnation, but I would like to see, if they do bring back those incarnations of the Doctor, I would like to see the right actor do so. Maybe for John Pertwee, his son, who is one of the main stars in the Gotham series. It's a Batman spin-off. I would like to see him do that. But yeah, for those Doctors, I'm just going to do them all in one, so 1, 2 and 3. If they can get an actor who can, look the part and, use the same body language and act like that incarnation, then yeah, I'm down for that. And that brings me on to the fourth Doctor. With Tom Baker still around, he's doing a lot of Big Finish stuff, and again, with the 50th anniversary 7 years ago, he made an appearance as the Curator incarnation. And of course, if Tom Baker can, come back, then yeah, I would love to see Tom Baker have a little appearance, and maybe he could come back as the Curator again and, kick some ass, or, add some wise information to whatever the Doctor's doing. I would love to see that, and get some more background info for who the Curator is. Now, with the fifth Doctor, Peter Davidson, he is one of the younger classic Who Doctors, so if he does get asked back, I would like to see him come back. But in terms of the 50th anniversary, and generally modern Who doesn't reference, or at least they haven't really brought back any classic Doctors, except for Time Crash in 2007 that brought back Peter Davidson's Doctor. So, I don't know. It would be nice, as, he is one of the younger incarnations from the classic era, but will they? I don't know. I do hope so, as it would be cool to see him dress up with the cricket gear, with the stick of celery. I think it would be awesome. Now, moving on to the sixth Doctor, who is played by Colin Baker. Again, with Colin, his Doctor was very diverse at the time of the show in its classic run. It was kind of the beginning of the end, really. And initially, fans weren't happy, and with production issues. His Doctor was kind of given some unfair treatment, and he didn't really have a fair chance. And then obviously Big Finish, who do amazing audios by the way, have recently kind of done a redemption arc with him, and have basically just made him a brilliant Doctor. And I would love to see more of Colin Baker, and if that means he comes back, I would love to see that. But again, with Classic Who, it just depends on if the writers want to bring them back. Like, honestly, I'm all up for it, but again, I just want to see them come back. But we've got to be realistic. Will they bring back the 6th Doctor, who was originally diversive? We'll have to see. That I'm going to put as a maybe. Now, with the 7th Doctor, Sylvester McCoy, I do personally think is an underrated Doctor. I've only watched a few of his episodes, but obviously it was during his era where the classic era ended, unfortunately, and initially people did have a lot to say that, you know, his episodes weren't that good, and the only good one was a Remembrance of the Daleks, but there's a lot there that I enjoyed. I enjoyed Silver Nemesis, Remembrance of the Daleks, I like Time and Rami, Dragonfire, and Curse of Fenric. They were all really good, and there's another one as well, Battlefield. I really enjoyed them, and to be honest, it would really, again with the other incarnations I've just listed, it would be cool to see them come back. But again, is it going to happen? I don't know. But now we move on to an incarnation that I think is a lot more likely compared to the other classic era incarnations, and that is Paul McGann's 8th Doctor. Because before the 50th anniversary, he legit only had a TV special movie as his only appearance, and then for the 50th anniversary, Stephen Moffat wrote and sorted out a 6-minute special that showed the 8th Doctor regenerating, and he does have a major part in the upcoming event Time Lord Victorious, because the Big Finish audios have boosted Paul McGann's incarnation massively. And I'm not going to lie, the TV movie is something that I feel is a bit too American, and it kind of did ruin some elements of Doctor Who, but it did set up some of the elements that would be used in the modern iteration of the show today. But the Big Finish audios is probably like the best material that any Doctor's had in terms of what Paul McGann's done, and there's a lot of stuff coming out now that is set during the Time War from Paul McGann's Doctor's perspective, and I think it's fantastic. And the reason why I think he's the most likely is because these audios have boosted his popularity, and a lot of people are interested in this incarnation because A, he hasn't had much screen time at all, and he's very unique because a lot of the times, yeah, he has amnesia, but also he's kind of that Doctor who's on the edge of the Time War, but he's not there yet. And one thing that I love about his incarnation is that before he becomes the War Doctor, that I'll get onto in a bit, he's kind of like on the outset of the Time War, that he doesn't want to get involved, and that's what you learn in the special as well, but he just tries to help out where he can, and that's like the moral code of the Doctor that he ends up breaking when he becomes the War incarnation. But it would be cool to see the 8th Doctor return from, I don't know, like an early part of the timeline or something like that, so I guess that would be cool to see. Please. And then we move on to the War Doctor, who was played by John Hurt, who is sadly no longer with us. Would I like to see another actor play this incarnation? I don't think I would, just because John Hurt did an absolutely fantastic role. He did a really good job with this incarnation, and I feel like the War Doctor was given a really, really good, you know, progress with that character arc with the Time War in the 50th anniversary. I don't think there's any need for him to return, but again, I don't want to dishonour John Hurt by saying, oh yeah, someone else should be cast to play him, just because, yeah, John Hurt's Doctor was meant to be a one-off Doctor, but he ended up doing Big Finish stuff, and there's some comics released. But yeah, for me personally, I feel like the War Doctor, because he's more tied to the Time War, whatever happens in the 60th anniversary, I don't think it's going to be Time War related. I just don't think there's a part that needs to be played with that incarnation. And also, he didn't really do much apart from fighting the Time War, so there's not much leeway to bring him into whatever the story is of the 60th anniversary. Now we move on to Christopher Eccleston's Doctor. Oh boy, this one is gonna be interesting, because Christopher Eccleston and the BBC have had a fun little friendship, to say the least, and I'm not going to get into that in this video, but essentially he was asked to come back for the 50th anniversary and he thought about it, he declined. But recently he has been taking part in a lot of Doctor Who Comic Cons and a lot of panels, and he's been open talking about the show, and he seems to be acknowledging the fans more and showing some love towards the show. So will he come back? Will that change what's happening with his decision? Well, I would like to hope that he comes back, because Christopher Eccleston was my first Doctor, and I did love seeing his darker tones and how he was riddled with guilt because he thought that he destroyed Gallifrey and killed all the Time Lords. And it would be really cool to see that Doctor for a moment, obviously before the timelines go out of sync, to learn that Gallifrey wasn't destroyed because of him. I feel like that would add a new perspective to that incarnation. But in terms of being realistic of if Chris will come back, I'm going to put him down as a maybe. I would like, if you asked me before 2013, I would be like no, because Chris kind of hates the show, but he's definitely warmed up to it, and I feel like now that there's like 15 years that have passed since all the drama, he is, I guess he's kind of forgiven what's gone on, and yeah, it would be cool to see him come back. Now we move on to David Tennant's Doctor, the 10th Doctor, and I'm going to say straight away, I mean, I went to a Comic Con last year, and he said, well, him and Matt Smith, I might as well do this in one go, they both said they would be up for coming back. Like, they didn't try to beat around the bush, they said, yeah, they would come back. And to be honest, I would expect them to. They're both really popular Doctors from the modern era. Like, if you talk about Doctor Who to someone, they will most likely reference David Tennant's incarnation or Matt Smith's. So, yeah, I would definitely see that happening. And also, they are both massive fans of the show. And, yeah, they both worked with Chibnall before, just assuming that Chris Chibnall's going to be right in the 60th. And I do think that will help with getting a role in the 60th. We now move to the 12th Doctor, who was played by Peter Capaldi, and is kind of a recent incarnation that's kind of something to think about. But let's not forget, when the 50th aired, it was only 3 years after David Tennant's last episode, so keep that in mind. But with Peter Capaldi, he's kind of moved on quickly to other roles. Like, he's been in a few movies. The Suicide Squad 2 is coming out next year. He's got a big role in that, and that's rumoured to start off a new franchise. So with Peter Capaldi, I think it's more the question is, will his schedule be able to fit in an anniversary special for an old TV show he used to do? And I would like to think that he'd return, but I think with Capaldi it's more of if he has the time, and I really want him to, but I generally, if things are, you know, continuing where he's landing big roles and huge blockbuster movies, I don't think he'll have the time to come back to Doctor Who, personally. And then we move on to our current incarnation of the Doctor, Jodie Whittaker, who I do think personally will stay for the 60th anniversary, just because there's going to be some off seasons, so there's not going to be a series for a year and stuff like that. If that ends up happening, then Jodie will probably be the Doctor, the current Doctor for the 60th anniversary, and I obviously will say that she's going to be back. And to be honest, I'd be very interested to see how her incarnation acts around other Doctors, because obviously from their perspective she's the first female Doctor, but obviously with the Timeless Child arc, there was a lot of revelations and there was a lot of like younger female Doctors as well, so it would be very interesting to see her react to that. And yeah, I do personally believe she will be the current incarnation for the 60th anniversary special. And speaking of the Timeless Children, I am going to be talking about a few of those incarnations. Now, the Morbius Doctors are a lot older compared to when they were like first introduced in the Brain of Morbius that was in Tom Baker's era. And from the top of my head, I'm not even sure if they're all still alive, unfortunately. But it would be nice to, again, this is new canon, and I know not all of it has been explained, but it would be nice to at least touch upon that, because if you're celebrating Doctor Who's history and the Doctor's life by having different incarnations pop up, at least reference them. And then we move on to Jo Martin's Doctor, who I would love to see the Fugitive Doctor pop up. It would be amazing, and it would help solidify that she is the Doctor. She was in the NHS promo as well, so it would be awesome to see her return. And I do think she will have a bigger role in Series 13, and I do have like another video planned on that, but yeah, I would like to see that. So there we go. We've discussed all the different incarnations. There's a lot of maybes here, because obviously some need recasting, and you know, some is just like down to if Classic Who is deemed, you know, reasonable. But I would like to see some Classic Who Doctors come back. Like, I would love to see that, especially Peter Davison. I would love to see come back, but it's generally down to the showrunner. But Chris Chibnall does seem to borrow some elements from Classic Who, so maybe, just maybe, but we'll have to see what goes on. But yeah, thank you very much for watching this little random video. I thought I'd just make it because I'm very interested to see what Doctors come back, and I'm just into speculating about the show because I love it. But yeah, thank you very much for watching. If you have enjoyed, leave a like, rating, and subscribe, and I'll see you all on my next video. Bye for now.